Greetings, dear viewer. We are very happy to see you once again. Welcome to this program, Music and Doctrine, coming to you from Baraton TV, here and hereafter. It is our pleasure and we are very happy that you've been listening to us for the many programs that have come to you in the past. And we know that if you go to the media, like YouTube, you're going to find us there. And so when you go to YouTube, you just have to search for Baraton TV. And when you get it there, you go under videos and you can scroll so many of them. There are many other programs that have been put there for your own good. And we just want to remind you that take your time and like it. There is a thumbs up there. Take your time and click subscribe so that you are part of this. Whenever a video is sent, you get it. And if you want a notification whenever we upload any video, there is a bell there. You just click on it and you will always be notified day or night that there is a new video coming. There is a new video that has come. And this is all to bless you. And so we want to welcome you once again, dear viewer, Music and Doctrine. And so today we want to look at the musician. We want to talk to the musician. The musician. Because we have talked about music and doctrine and many other aspects. Let's talk to the musician. You know, sacred music that is of interest to us is used in worship. And doctrine dictates what goes on in worship. And when music takes place in worship, it's because doctrine allows it. And we had defined doctrine much earlier on. Doctrine even dictates who ministers in worship. It is not anybody who just ministers in worship. And so the existence of church leaders is because they have been dictated by doctrine. Doctrines are the teachings of the church. The teachings of the church determines who participates in worship, who leads out, who does this, who does that, who speaks the word of God. And so doctrine dictates who ministers in worship. And so doctrine must dictate who participates in music that is part of worship, because sacred music is part of worship. Listen, friends, God chose the Levites to serve in the temple. God told Moses that of all the 12 tribes of Israel, I want you to set apart the tribe of Levi, and these Levites are going to serve me in the temple. And so it is God who chose the Levites to serve in the temple. And the Levites did many things at the temple. They did all sorts of works and businesses that were concerning the temple. Even the services of the temple, they participated. The Levites taught the people. The Levites sacrificed with the people. The Levites even sang during worship. When David is talking to the Levites, he appoints even musicians that was to sing in the temple. And he tells them in 1 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 12 and verse 13, and I will just highlight that text. He says, sanctify yourselves, you and your brethren. And so the priests and Levites sanctified themselves. David was speaking to musicians who were Levites, and some of them were priests. He said, listen, you need to sanctify yourselves. And so a musician is somebody who is chosen by God. And how does God choose? He chooses by gifting that musician. And so, friends, we must be careful on who ministers in worship. We must be careful on who ministers in the music that takes place at the place of worship. You see, the rest of the Israelites sang elsewhere. Otherwise, all music that happened at the place of worship in the temple was done by Levites. Chosen by God, dictated by God, set aside by God, because sanctify means set aside. Set yourself apart. Be distinct from the ordinary. And that's why David says to them, sanctify yourselves. Set yourself apart. Be different from the ordinary. Be different from what comes around you. And that's why the musician in the sacred place and of sacred music must be distinct from that which is around. So that when worshippers come, they have an opportunity to feel that this is distinct from the world that we have come from. And that's why David says, sanctify yourself. To set yourself apart for holy purposes. Sanctify yourself. Otherwise, the rest of the Israelites sang elsewhere. You remember Miriam's song after they crossed the Red Sea, singing and celebrating elsewhere, not in the temple. You remember Deborah's song after victory, elsewhere, not in the temple. You remember David's song, and you know there is even a song of Mary. And so, friends, others could sing elsewhere. And that's why there is other religious music that we can listen to elsewhere. But when it comes to the place of worship, it must be so distinct that the experience that the worshiper gets when he goes there is also molded by the music that is listened to. See to it that the music we use in worship molds the experience to be a positive experience. And this is done by selection of who participates in music in the church. We must be extremely careful who ministers music in worship, in church. The minister of music must be an embodiment of doctrine and belief. That the person who stands up to minister in music must embody the beliefs of the congregation. It cannot be somebody who out there is known as a well-known atheist. He doesn't believe in God, dismisses the issues of God, but because he's a great violinist, he comes to the church and says, okay, I've been invited here to play a song. Puts there and starts humming a song. Listen, friends, that creates a conflict in the mind of the worshiper. We must be careful who ministers. The one who ministers music must embody the doctrine and belief of the people who come to worship, so that their very existence affirms their faith. And that's when the experience of worship becomes meaningful. And that's when everybody learns, so that when you wish to be like that musician, you not only wish to be like that musician, but you wish to be part of the faith of that musician. The minister must be a demonstration of faith that is upheld by the congregation. When the congregation has faith in God, the one who ministers must be a demonstration of what it means to have faith in God. Not somebody who visits witch doctors and is participating in music. How will witch doctors get converted when they see their client is the one leading out in song? And so the musician must sanctify themselves. Musicians must sanctify themselves. The minister, unlike the songwriter, is visible and associatable. While the songwriter can come from anywhere, and when we look at the songwriter, we look at the song that has been written, and we look at the lyrics and consistency with the doctrine, like we have mentioned before in other episodes of this program. But while the writer of the song may not be visible, the one who eventually presents it, the musician who comes to present it, must embody the beliefs of those who enjoy that kind of music, those who participate in worship, so that it becomes evangelistic in every sense, and it contributes to nurture. And so spiritual commitment is high above skills in music. When it comes to sacred music, the commitment of the musician is more important than how good they are in playing an instrument or training the choir. We cannot entertain people of low morals participating in religious music, and everybody else in the congregation knows about their morals. When that happens, we defeat the very purpose of worship and the very purpose of music. And so we must be keen on who participates in sacred music of worship to create the ambience, to create the environment, to create a situation where when people come to worship, when they look at the preacher, when they look at the musician, they are inspired on what they should be, what they ought to be according to the will of God. And so spiritual commitment must be a priority above their ability to produce a DVD or a CD for you as a group. Worship includes church-led services such as funerals, weddings, prayer meetings, etc. And so when we say sacred music in places of worship, remember places of worship are not only the church. Whenever the church relocates to a funeral place to bury somebody, that is a church service. The musician must be a committed person. Whenever the church relocates to a wedding, both the wedding where we declare husband and wife and the wedding where we cut cakes and eat, it is a church service and sacred music must be upheld. It is not right, friends. It has never been right. Every time when people separate and say we have finished the church part and now they go to the hell part, where men and women participate in things that reveal that they were not truly converted. The dancing, the shaking that shows that these people are in church but their hearts are still in the world. And so listen, friends, we need to be very clear that whenever the church relocates, even when we come to pray for your house, the church has relocated to your house. It becomes a place of worship. And so weddings from beginning to end, including the reception, is a church service. And it must be respected as such. Otherwise, there was no business to have church people come and do half, because that becomes a demonstration of hypocrisy. Inviting DJs, playing secular music, and church people dancing, shaking themselves, and demonstrating their sexual prowess in a church service. And then we start wondering foolishly, why are our people dying of cancer? Why are our people dying every day, left, right, and center? Oh, the world is changing and whatever. It's because of this kind of nonsense. We offend God. And after we offend God right in the church service, the same people who participate in breaking the bread of life and the same people who are supposed to be the embodiment of faith become the embodiment of hellish kind of lifestyle. They dance exactly the way people dance in discos and nightclubs. No wonder some people go to discos and nightclubs with hoods covering their faces. It could be these same people who appear now in wedding receptions. Others in what is called in East Africa, in Kenya, disco matanga. This is the dancing all night music being played during a funeral. If the burial is tomorrow, the whole night people are dancing and singing and doing all sorts of things that will make Sodom and Gomorrah look like a baby's game. Listen, friends, this could be the very reason why we are perishing left, right, and center, and the world is not making sense. Listen, we need to say that whenever the church relocates, whenever you need the church to conduct prayers, if you say we need church people to come, the church relocates wherever you are. And if the church has relocated, the music must be sacred, the participation must be sacred, and the participants must be sacred, and the listeners can be anybody, and they learn from the exercise. We need to think about this, friends, and it is not a matter of pleading, but appealing to the conscience of the people. You can continue making fun of it and say, we love, what can we do, and enjoy, but it is all right. There is a God to be dealt with. The musician must be the embodiment of doctrine. While the music must be consistent with the doctrine, the musician must be the embodiment of doctrine. Thank you so much, dear viewer. We hope you have enjoyed. There are a few more programs that are coming on music and doctrine, and we have a little more that we need to tell you so that we address conclusively the matter of music and doctrine. We are very happy that you have accepted to be part of us. Learn to share, learn to invite others to like, and learn to subscribe. Thank you so much from Music and Doctrine, coming to you from Baraton TV, here and hereafter. Asante sana.